let's sit down and talk about how you
Before we
make money.
do, let me just show you the apartment. It's maybe about 800 or 900 meters from the actual beach.
Yeah.
So great location. And when you're renting in Vietnam, staying a little bit further back from the beach, you're going to save tons of money. We arrived at this place.
Right, and it's got the windows facing the beach.
So there's no contract here. And it's only about $370 a month. And you're kind of reducing how much stuff you have. You realize that you don't actually need a lot to be happy and to be comfortable. So I guess starting things off, the main expense you're going to have here is going to be your eating out and your grabs. So back home, whether it's say in places like Portugal and North America, it's going to be your groceries. But here, because the cost of eating out is so low and the cost of deliveries is so low, that's by far my biggest expense. It's actually higher than my rent. So we probably cook maybe one meal a week at best. Yeah. So yeah, it's a dream. It's so convenient, so easy. So things did increase in price a lot. The budget probably went up an extra kind of 20 or 30%, especially for things like food. But this is living bare bones. We didn't really have much of a life. We didn't get to go out. We didn't get to eat. When you compare that to how we live now in Da Nang.
Tell me how you make money online and you're living location independent in Da Nang, because the numbers speak for themselves. A lot of people are dreaming of doing this, and you've now done it.
You're not going to get rich from doing this, but my goal was just to reduce my expenses and to get my time back. So working 30 hours a week, I earn about between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. But now I have so much more time where I can start building a YouTube channel, which is something I've been doing, and start thinking about how I can build other online businesses and other streams of income. And without having the freedom of time, you just can't do that.
Welcome back to the Cost of Living show with Evan. We're in Da Nang, Vietnam, and I'm pretty excited. We are going to meet Tom from Australia today. He's going to tell us why he left Australia. He's got a really curious story. So he actually moved to Portugal first, met a woman and fell in love with a local in Portugal, and then they decided to leave Portugal and come to Da Nang, Vietnam together. So he's gonna tell us all about that, and he's actually waiting right here at this beautiful cafe. Hey, what's up, Tom? Yeah, really good.
Cheers. Got the coffees delivered at the right time as well.
Let's start with the Australia thing before we get into the Portugal Vietnam thing. Why did you leave Australia? Why get out of town? Why did you get the fuck out?
Cheers, man. Well, yeah, man, it's, to be honest, growing up, I always had a very kind of basic dream. I just wanted to do the typical start a family, get a good job, and I did that. I initially lived in Sydney, started climbing the corporate ladder, and honestly, mate, it was struggle city. It was really tough, and I was living in a 28 metre square studio in central Sydney in a place called Rushcutters Bay, and at the end of the day, I was just earning, basically having about $1,000 left at the end of the month, and once you discount Friday beers, it was there was no money left. So just look to get away and move somewhere abroad where I could potentially live a bit cheaper and save a bit more money.
You did the standard route. You went to college in Australia. You're with your mates here in Sydney.
I actually went to college in Manchester, but then I came back to Australia to start the corporate life. Yeah.
So maybe you had. See, I think that can change it, right? If you have like a little taste almost of living abroad, it can sort of just open your mind to the possibility that there's something else out there. Like 100%. I definitely feel that with my original experience in Latin America. So what kind of job are you working when you leave Sydney, and then when you initially make that move to Portugal first?
Yeah,
right?
It was Portugal. Actually, it was Denmark first. Yeah, so I'll fill in the gaps a little bit, man. So this is around kind of COVID time. I was working in Sydney, and I saw basically the Australian government, for those of you who don't know, is a bit of a nanny state. And I saw COVID happening. I saw the writing was on the wall, and I was like, it's going to get bad. And my girlfriend at the time was a Danish girl, and she had the idea of, well, why don't we just move back to Denmark? So we decided to do that, so we jumped on a plane and we relocated back to Europe. I got a job working in a startup over there. My background's in sales, so I was just sticking with what I know and working for this medtech company. And
Denmark always has the happiest place on the planet, right? Like all those sort of northern European states, almost like Canada, where I'm from originally, or like Australia, they tend to crush all those statistical reports. Yeah. But being from Canada, I'm being from the north, I'm like, fuck that. They're freezing, they're expensive, they're gray, right? The weather's miserable. Yeah. Tell me about the initial move to Portugal and why Portugal, because that's still is now, it's kind of trending for a bit different reasons, but for a few years there, it felt like every kind of, move abroad, digital nomad, living abroad, leave America behind story ended in Portugal. So yeah, how did yours get there?
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those guys. So as you just said, man, I'm originally from Australia. So the living with no sun for 11 months of the year, it just wasn't sustainable. It was miserable, and that relationship ended. And I was already working remotely because of COVID. So I just thought, fuck it, why don't I try to find somewhere a little bit more, fitting my lifestyle and what I like to do. I like to be a bit more outdoors. I like to go surfing, and Denmark just doesn't really offer that. So, in addition to the high taxes, which is another story. So, Portugal, ticked a lot of boxes. And as you said, it was trending on Instagram, and everyone was talking about it at the time. And so, I went to check it out, and 2021, late 2020, 2021, and mate, just fell in love with it. It was a beautiful place. I say was. It has unfortunately changed a little bit now. But sun 300 days a year, good waves, interesting culture, delicious food. So moved to Portugal and was having a great time, and that's where I met my current missus, fell in love.
What was Lisbon like when you sort of hit the ground running, presumably? Because you've told us you already had a job, you already had money, which is, for most people, is really the biggest obstacle, I think, to living abroad, being location independent. So you tick the biggest box right away. You go to sort of the number one destination. Let's talk a little bit about cost. We'll get into that more later when we go and check out your place here in Da Nang, but the cost of Sydney versus Denmark versus then Portugal, how that sort of sticker price hits you, right?
Okay, yeah. So initially in 2021, I was paying about 400 euros a month it was kind of a penthouse, call it a penthouse. It was a small apartment, but a 2-bed penthouse. I was sharing it with a mate. And mate, we were living the high life. Like it was awesome. $400 a month. It was the cheapest rent I ever had. To give you an idea, I was paying about 400 Australian dollars a week in Sydney, so it was more than double the price. Sticker price, probably all in all, I was maybe spending about 1,200, 1,300 euros a month in Portugal, but I was going out drinking a lot. I was having fun. I wasn't holding back with the expenses.
Like living the high life, the good life,
basically,
in Europe, in Portugal proper, on 12 or 1,300 is pretty.
Yeah, and just to give you a bit of a caveat to that is that the minimum wage in Portugal at the time was 850 euros, more or less. So that's, to give you an idea, I was living the high life for a Portuguese person, and I was still able to put aside quite a lot of money. So, yeah.
1.5 times minimum wage is not like crazy, right? Like if the minimum wage gets you an €800 a month lifestyle, and then you're saying 50% more than that, 1,200, you're doing really well. It's also interesting because that puts it in the for a small pensioner, for someone looking to retire, Social Security from the US or Canada, right? Like that's what so many people are looking for. Is like, where can this money that, I've worked 30 years, 40 years of my life to get. I'm sure it's the same in superannuation in Australia, right? Like you work your whole life to get that, and then it basically buys you shit quality of life at home.
Oh yeah, mate.
Where can you go and where can you find it? That's cool, man. Well, why don't you tell me a little bit more about settling into life in Portugal, meeting your partner, sort of like the good years aspect of it. And then when we go over to we'll take a walk over to your place after we finish our coffee. We can talk about why you left Portugal and kind of how the first impressions of Da Nang are. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about the good times in Portugal, so to speak.
Yeah, and again, like Evan's bang on the money. Like Portugal, for the time, being able to live off 1,200 euros, or maybe I think that's about $1,400. You're living a great life. You're eating out at restaurants. Rent is cheap. It's comfortable, man. So I initially was living in Lisbon in an apartment with my mate, and then I met Carol, and we got a place by the beach, and literally within 100 meters of a famous surfing beach in a place called Carcavelos. So waking up, going surfing, working remotely at the time. I was only working about 4 or 5 hours a day, and yeah, mate, it was the dream. It was the absolute dream. So we had a good couple of years traveling a lot around Europe as well. Yeah, I mean, initially Portugal was great. Things did start to change a little bit about maybe a year and a half or so, 2 years ago. Do you want me to get into that a little bit?
When you initially land there in 2021, what's your visa process look like? What kind of visa are you on? How much did that cost? How long did it take? The basics, right? Of just how that works.
Cool. Mate, Portugal is a bit of a logistical nightmare when it comes to stuff like that. It's very bureaucratic. So a couple of years ago, it used to be a government agency called CEF. So because I had a very good job in Denmark and was earning a good salary, it was quite easy for me to apply for a visa. I forget the name of it now. I think it was the D2 visa, and that also came with something called the NHR, which is the non-habitual residence program. So that allows for significantly lower tax, in some cases tax-free on foreign income, so the tax situation was really good. The difficulty was it's an absolute bloody nightmare to get the residency card. It took about 2.5 years, and I was filing all the paperwork. I'd even hired a lawyer at one point to kind of harass them and try to get the ball rolling. Yeah. Now I think the wait time is anywhere from kind of 3 to 4 years. They're backlogged with kind of millions of people applying for such a small country. So that's the one downside I would say was the visa process, and it puts a lot of people off.
Well, you want to head to your apartment and see how you're doing here in Da Nang?
Let's do it, man.
All right, let's do it. Which way are you going?
That way.
As we walk over to your place, then we'll do a quick tour of what, a really affordable serviced apartment. Also quite close to the beach, I'll say. We're about a block from Mai Key Beach, the main beach there, as we leave the cafe, looks like. Tell me about the sort of cost of living and the initial comparison having left Portugal for Vietnam, because honestly, I think it's so unique that you're doing that, and also that your partner is Portuguese, right? That you've come here with your love, who's Portuguese. So you got an Australian and a Portuguese leaving Portugal for Da Nang, Vietnam, which is like, I don't know. It's
pretty rare.
Yeah, I think at least right now it seems pretty rare.
Yeah. Just diving straight into the cost of living. I'll run through how things were in Portugal first, just for a bit of context, and then we can compare it to how it is here in Vietnam.
Perfect.
So in Portugal, as I mentioned, initially I was spending about 400, but when I upgraded and moved in with Carol by the beach, we were spending about 750 euros a month. And that was for a one-bedroom apartment about 100 meters from the beach, so it was still steel.
In Lisbon? So
Carcavelos is about 20 k's on the train, but you jump on a train and it's about 25 minutes into Lisbon Central.
So still in like the capital area.
Oh yeah, exactly. Still in a really good spot. And so that's the cost of the apartment was about 750. Bills were probably another about 150 all up. And the next expense was, of course, groceries. Groceries in Portugal, now this fluctuated a lot. So when I first got there, shopping at Lidl and Aldi and these kind of places, I was only spending about kind of $300-400 a month, and that was for the both of us.
Wow.
So pretty reasonable.
A bit over $10 a day, $12 a day.
Yeah, so not bad at all. And I mean, we were living pretty well.
But were you cooking?
Yeah, we were cooking a lot, and this is the big lifestyle difference between Portugal and Da Nang, which I'll get into. But we were cooking every day, every meal basically, never really getting takeaway. So that's how you can live cheap. And then on top of that, transport, didn't have a car, so expenses were pretty low for transport.
Were you driving back home in Australia?
I was, yeah. Oh, mate, in Australia, you can't get around without a car. You need a car. Imagine it's somewhat like Canada in that respect.
I mean, there's maybe not just one or two cities. There's like a couple of neighborhoods in a couple of cities in Toronto in Toronto and maybe in Vancouver and Montreal.
We can just cross here, mate.
It gets cold, so yeah. Anyways, go on.
Do you want to punch it, or should we wait for the light? Might be. Yeah, we punch it.
Everybody makes those corny ass videos about crossing the street in Vietnam.
It's all good. They'll wait.
That's bullshit. Clickbait to the max. Or we can make clickbait about stinky food, stinky fruit.
Yeah.
Straight or right?
I think we're good, mate.
Yeah.
I think we're good. Yeah. Always double check. Where were we?
So we were talking about groceries and then the cost of transportation.
Yeah, so groceries, cost of transport, when you add up all the living expenses, you throw in some leisure, a bit of fun in there as well, you're only looking at spending about 1,600, 1,700 euros for two people. Yeah. So most people might think that's a steal, and it's pretty affordable, I guess, compared to the average North American or Canadian
Yeah, I mean that's about. I think it'd be a little over $2,000 US.
Yep.
So $1,000 a person
Yeah.
per month, 24,000 US a year is still less. I mean, a third. It's probably a third of what you'd live off of in Canada.
Sure, but again, this is when I first got there. So things
Yeah.
did increase in price a lot. The budget probably went up an extra kind of 20 or 30%, especially for things like food. But this is living bare bones.
Yeah.
We didn't really have much of a life, you know, like we didn't get to go out, we didn't get to eat. So when you compare that to how we live now in Da Nang, it's a totally different situation.
Well, before we see the apartment, and after we pass by the construction, so I mean, everyone should know this. Da Nang is a boom town. Most of Vietnam is. It'll be loud. There's construction everywhere. There's traffic, etc. That's just part of the deal of a place like this that is growing and so dynamic.
Correct. It's how you know it's going in the right direction.
That's right. All the cranes, right? Count the cranes above the skyline. So let's start talking about that. Before we get into the cost of the apartment, the cost of transportation,
Sure.
getting in here on a visa, how much you're spending on food and drink, and then how it's changed your quality of life too, is I think ultimately the most important thing.
For sure, man. I'll just, So I guess starting things off, the main expense you're going to have here is going to be your eating out and your grabs. So back home, whether it's say in places like Portugal and North America, it's going to be your groceries. But here, because the cost of eating out is so low and the cost of deliveries is so low, that's by far my biggest expense. It's actually higher than my rent. So I spend last month I spent about $580 on grabs alone, which is
including food delivery.
That is food delivery. Yeah, that's all food delivery. So in Da Nang you have grab bike and grab delivery. So this is just grab delivery.
Yeah, that's a grab driver right there, and you could he's delivering a lunch, or you could get on the back of the bike and go for a ride with him, right? Either one's an option.
Yeah, so all in all about kind of $500-600 on grab deliveries, add an extra $200 or $300 for eating out, which again, it sounds like a lot of money when you compare it to how we were living in Portugal, but
so it's just 20 or 30 US a day.
Yep.
For two people though, right?
Yeah, for two people, correct.
For two people. So again, you're looking at, trying to sort of yell because I don't know the mic, but looking at maybe $15, $10 to $15 per person to eat out every meal.
Yeah.
Right? Like 100% of your meals.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, we probably cook as much as we used to eat out. So we probably cook maybe one meal a week at best.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a dream. It's so convenient, so easy. And the best part is you'll order food and then the guy will be at the door within kind of 10 or 15 minutes. So it's right here, mate. Yeah, so welcome to the apartment.
Yeah, nice. So it's a motorbike parking downstairs. So it's like a walk-up service apartment style spot. Someone's got a nice Kona bike. Good for them. You know, I'm a old school cyclist. Are these your landlords?
This is the landlord living here. Mrs. Hart, lovely lady.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, she takes really good care of us. So anything you need, you can just have a chat to your landlord. You know, you run out of toilet paper, you know, whatever. You need the place cleaned.
Do you have her on WhatsApp?
Yeah, we have her on WhatsApp.
Yeah. Cool, man. So before we look into the place, let's talk if we ride the elevator about the financials of it. How much it's costing a month? Before that, even how do you find it? Yeah. Everyone wants to know, how do you find an apartment? How do you get a good place?
Yeah.
As you saw just now, we're 5 minutes walk from my key, the main beach in Da Nang.
Yeah, it's not far. It's maybe about 800 or 900 meters from the actual beach.
Yeah.
So great location. And when you're renting in Vietnam, staying a little bit further back from the beach, you're going to save tons of money. So to find a place, the best option is actually going to be Facebook Marketplace. So what we did is we basically jumped on Facebook Marketplace, on expat groups, found a bunch of real estate agents in different parts of Da Nang. And then we just arranged meetings, and then we went and just saw a bunch of places, and I actually made a video about this already, so if you haven't, go check that out. And we arrived at this place.
Oh, right, and it's got the windows facing the beach.
Yeah, so it is not, the reason we chose this place was, I mean, we both work remotely, Carol and I, so having somewhere that's quiet, and you know, the windows are insulated, and yeah, it's nice and bright. So it is quite small, But that comes with the territory. I mean, we're paying month to month, so there's no contract here, and it's only about $370 a month.
$370 a month. Yeah, so you can, it's quite bright, quite spacious for, it's not really a studio. It's like sort of half studio, half one bedroom, right?
Yeah.
You have a little kitchenette area here, bar area, kind of cool, a couch. I mean, could you entertain here? You could have a couple over.
Yeah,
right?
you got some breakfast stalls. Yeah.
Yeah, like you got two of you and two friends over to hang out and have a couple of drinks or
Yeah.
a meal. Certainly a TV to hang out. Do you film and work in here too?
I do. So I do have to move things around a little bit. I normally just position the desk here and then just have the TV in the background for some visuals. But yeah, it does the job, man. Like, we're very comfortable here, and like you said, man, when you're reducing the cost of living and you're kind of reducing how much stuff you have, you realize that you don't actually need a lot to be happy and to be comfortable.
Absolutely. Well, let's sit down and talk about how you
Before we
make
do,
money.
let me just show you the apartment. Yeah, I'll show you the apartment. So this is the bedroom as well. We do have a bit of a storage thing in here.
Oh, that's cool. So
Yeah.
a lot of VF places have absolutely no closet space, right? You
Yeah.
see like racks right on the actual floor in the bedroom,
Yep.
taking up square footage.
So yeah, this is the little balcony. Got a washing machine as well.
Yep.
So yeah, pretty bare bones stuff, but yeah, it's comfortable, and we
And
like
what
it.
about, how's the noise? It's pretty right smack in the middle of tourist district downtown.
So yeah, so that was the biggest thing, is because it's insulated. You close these doors and windows, and yeah, it's pretty good. We do have karaoke sometimes, but generally it's not too bad. We can't really hear it. So yeah, we have no problem sleeping.
Nice. I mean, it does look like a new build. These are like proper insulated glass panels and windows, so it's not gonna, that looks like a plaster, so it should be pretty soundproof, right? Like,
Yeah, it is. It is.
yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's one nice thing about getting a place like this, the older building, but it's obviously been refurbished, refinished to be a short-term rental, right? Like,
Correct.
It's clearly Western style, Western rentals. That's awesome. Okay, well, yeah, I want to get into how you make money online, how you're location independent. That's probably, in addition to the why did you leave and how much does it cost, that's the biggest question for most people, right? Is how do we make this sustainable, this lifestyle?
Yeah. Let's grab a seat and get into it.
Tell me how you make money online and you're living location independent in Da Nang, because I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. A lot of people are dreaming of doing this, and you've now done it in Denmark, in Portugal, and in Da Nang. So tell the people how to make money online. And
Yeah, so I'll just back up a little bit to when we were living in Portugal and kind of how the economic situation was. So Carol and I were both working. I was working for a company based in Denmark and earning good money. And Carol was actually working for a local Portuguese real estate company. So good job. And she was only making about 850 euros a month after taxes. So when you did the numbers, it was like 60 hours a week when you include her commute, and it just wasn't really stacking up that well. So she wasn't doing so good. I actually ended up losing that job. So I lost that opportunity. They wanted to downsize a little bit. And I was just looking around for something I could do. And I realized that I have this background in sales. I have this skill set already. What can I do? How can I make money online myself? And that's when I came across appointment setting. An appointment setting is essentially, as it sounds, you're just booking meetings for influencers on Instagram. So it's pretty basic stuff, man. It's like you're jumping in the DMs, you're having a bit of a chat, you're doing some qualification, and you're ultimately just trying to book a meeting. And you earn a commission off each meeting that you book if it closes. And you can, in some cases, also earn a base salary.
so are you booking meetings for like a brand that wants to work with an influencer?
No, it's B2C. Well, it can be B2B. It depends on who the client is and who you're working for. But the jobs that both Carol and I have at the moment are both B2C. So yeah, working with, I'll get into a little bit what it is. I won't say the name of the influencer, but essentially like a back pain specialist, this chiro physio type stuff online. Mm-hmm. And you're selling them on a one-to-one coaching.
Oh, interesting. So I have a friend who I interviewed, and I can link his interview now. His name is Marvin the podcast manager.
Okay.
And it's interesting, he's also in a very specialized niche, and he works with healthcare professionals, healthcare entrepreneurs who have podcasts, but the podcasts are like not at all like the podcast I make, right? They're not trying to get more views. They're not trying to like grow or expand exponentially. Sure. It's the opposite. They're trying to they want like 10 very specific possible clients to listen
Sure.
and to watch, right? Like they're
Gotcha.
really about generating like
Leads.
hot leads.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
very targeted hot leads.
Sure.
So you're doing something similar in a sense.
Yeah, so it is a combination of both inbound and outbound. So you've got the leads being generated by their ads, which you're obviously going through the inbox and handling those. And then you've also got the leads that you're generating yourself. So that's cold pitching, things like followers or people comment scraping, people have commented on posts, just trying to generate interest. And
are you doing it manually or using like ManyChat and software?
No, it's all manual. And here's the thing, a lot of people will say to me like, oh yeah, but surely AI is going to make that job obsolete. And that was my biggest fear, was that AI is going to improve so quickly. Oh, it's already, ChatGPT is on, I don't even, version 5 or 6 now, I'm not even sure. Yeah. But the reality is that people want to talk to people. And especially when you're working with brands and influencers, people want to think that they're talking to that person and that person's a human being. So there is still a big opportunity to do this manually. And that's not to say that you can't automate your processes. Of course, you write yourself a very comprehensive script. You have a very, cohesive set of answers that you'll follow and a process that you'll follow to automate it and to make it quicker. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, people want that person-to-person communication.
Yeah. Cool. Ultimately, well, so can you tell me then about the basics of how you got started in that field, and how much time you're spending per week, roughly how much you're earning, etc. And, basically give for the audience, if someone else wants to get into this or look into starting this, how would they get started in this kind of work?
Yeah, sure. So I found an influencer on Instagram, and he had created this course where he was essentially teaching people how to do this online setting. Okay. So I did the course. It was about $500, I think, at the time. And that came with the opportunity to have guaranteed interviews, where they set you up with other influencers and then they guarantee the interview. They don't guarantee you a job, right, but they guarantee you the fact that you're going to get put into these interviews, and it's up to you whether you get the job or not. Mm-hmm. And I figured with my background in sales, this should be a piece of cake. And sure enough, I did the course and I got a job within 2 months. And just a kind of disclaimer, you got to be realistic when you're doing this kind of stuff. You're not going to earn hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. It's not going to, you're not going to get rich from doing this. But my goal was just to reduce my expenses and to get my time back. So working 30 hours a week, I earn about between $2,000 and $3,000 a month.
That was my whole goal. My thing about YouTube is a really realistic side hustle for me. Mm. When I can think about it full time, I don't work on it full time. But if I spend 2 or 3 hours a day on it, 5 days a week, 10 to 15 hours, I just think it's really realistic to make $1,000, $2,000 a month. It fluctuates wildly with AdSense,
sure,
with when a brand deal comes in versus not a brand deal, right? Because a brand deal might be a 3-month contract or a 6-month contract with multiple deliverables.
Okay, that's something I want to ask you about. Yeah,
but
so we'll
get the month you get paid for it, you're like, oh,
drinks on me, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. For sure, man. And I'll just add that, as you said, it's more about arbitraging so you get your time back. Yeah, and I was able to reduce it to working kind of 25, 30 hours a week. So yeah, the numbers maybe aren't great in terms of the overall earnings, but now I have so much more time where I can start building a YouTube channel, which is something I've been doing, and start thinking about how I can build other online businesses and other streams of income. And without having the freedom of time, you just can't do that.
Coupled with the cost of living in Vietnam, how has that changed your overall quality of life for you and your lovely lady?
It has massively improved our lives. So Carol, as I said, was earning about 850 euros a month, right? Working 60 hours. So Carol and I both now do the same thing. So I did it and I got a job and I was like, you should do this. Yeah. She did it. She got a job. It took her a little bit longer. She didn't have any sales experience, but she's now earning, she earns better than me some months. She makes sometimes the best month she had was 3.5K, 4K. So you can do really well. And for her, that's like 3 times what she was earning working 60 hours a week. So half the time, 2 or 3 times the money. So when you combine our salaries, we're cruising. Yeah. We're absolutely cruising. 2K expenses at best, in Da Nang, and that's living a really good life. So we're pocketing, 4K a month, on average, 3-4K a month. So yeah, we're cheering.
Congrats on the dream, Tom. Of course. Your channel will be linked below. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'm M&A. If you want help moving to Vietnam yourself, my course is linked below. Sets you up housing, visa, all those basics in 60 minutes. It's basically a frequently answered question. Over my left shoulder, there's an interview with my buddy Nick, an American veteran, retired early in Da Nang, Vietnam, and we tour his beautiful $600 condo. Over my right shoulder, there's an interview with my buddy Marvin, a podcast manager, and we get into a lot of the sort of cost of living, the money, the setup as a digital nomad or creator, living abroad, living in Southeast Asia in 2025. Thanks so much for watching.